Good morning, everybody. We are going to be starting a new lesson. So the new best benchmarks in Florida, aren't they the best? We have a brand new lesson that we haven't had in previous algebra books. This is 3.5. We're talking about simple interest, the way you never want to invest your money in the bank, ever. But let's see how it works anyways, just for fun. So let's see, we have a formula here. So basically what we're saying is that P represents our principal, how much money you're putting into the bank, okay? And then there's this calculation here to find our rate. Like, well, when you put money into a bank, you expect to earn an interest. In order to calculate that, you need to find what that percentage is as a decimal. So we divide by 100. Okay, so you have 1 plus that rate as a decimal. And that rate is also being multiplied by time. So if you put it in the bank for, if your time is in years or months or whatever they're talking about, you're going to earn that interest every month. So each month, that rate is multiplied by the month, added to 1, and then that's multiplied by your principal. And that's what you earned in your simple interest. Okay. It's pretty much what we have here is a formula that you have to plug in pieces, and they're going to ask us to do different things. Noticing that, of course, your rate is generally greater than 0. We don't generally have a negative interest rate. Time is in years or whatever the unit is that they may give you here. Okay, so just be careful when we start to look at these. And P, of course, P is your initial amount of money. A is the current amount that you end up having. Okay. So let's see how this starts to get along. It says, depending on the information they give us, we will use substitution to get the equation in terms of t. Most of the time, we need to figure out, well, what is it going to be after t amount of years, or whatever the t is representing for us. And so we need to solve this equation, or at least get it better prepared so that there's no parentheses. Order of operations is basically saying substitute t and evaluate. Notice in this formula up here, this is not the case, right? There's distribution going on. So let's start to see how this works. It says, so Tanya opened a savings account with $2,100. The bank offers her an annual simple interest rate of 6%. Again, ladies and gentlemen, if you ever go to a bank and all they're offering you is simple interest, walk away and find another bank. That being said, let's get back to what they want us to calculate here. This bank is, and Tanya decides she's going to put her money into that account. All right, so they want to find the amount in Tanya's account after each number of years. And so we're going to just do, for the first one, 3 years. How much money will she have in this account after 3 years? Initially putting $2,100 into it, and your simple interest rate is 6%. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is we have to take this rate and turn it into a decimal. So our rate right now is equal to 6%. In order to take a percentage and turn it into a decimal, we have to divide by 100, which basically moves our decimal point 2 spots. So if you put this in the calculator and divide, you end up with 0.06. That is the equivalent to 6%. We need it in this form here as a decimal. Great. Now let's go ahead and start to take our equation. Our equation was A is equal to principal times 1 plus RT. Okay. We know our rate now is 0.06. The principal was 2,100. So we're going to take 2,100. All right. Now, this is what we have it set up, but we need to make sure that this is in terms of t. We want to get rid of these parentheses. So what we want to do is we want to distribute our 2,100. So that way we're ready to solve any value of t you give us. We have an equation that'll work for any value of t. So you distribute it this way. You have 2100 plus you have to do 2100 times 0.06. So when we get that, right, we end up with 126 according to our calculator. So 2100 times 0.06 is 126 T. Now, for this instance, this situation, this type of account, we're ready to solve for any value of T you give me. Well, what did they want us to do? They want us to solve for 3 years when T is equal to 3. So we could also do that as function notation, right? A of 3. Bringing some of our last unit into this. That means when our T is 3, what is our problem? All right, we're going to substitute it in. 2100 plus 126. This time we're going to remove our T and insert a 3. A of 3. Again, function notation, meaning here's your function A, and they want to know what is it when we evaluate or replace that independent variable with 3. And so we go through and we start to calculate. So here we go. Order of operations says do this part here first. In calculator, we end up with 378. Plus 2100. Nice, so that's 2478. After 3 years of her putting her money into an account, after 3 years, A of T, A of 3, this is how much money she'll have. And then you are good to go. And we even used function notation, reminding ourselves of all of our past lessons. Give yourself a pat on the back if you got this right. All right, let's see how are they going to make this more, because obviously this doesn't seem to be that hard. Periods of time, 2 years, 5 years, 8 years. So again, first thing you have to do is figure out, well, what is this rate as a decimal, not a percentage? So the rate is equal to 0.2% divided by 100. Means this decimal point moves 2 spots to the left. 0.002. Again, 12.002.002. There you go. Use the calculator. We have a rate. We have our initial amount. We should know our formula. It's on your formula sheet under the box that's titled Simple Interest. A is equal to your principal times 1 plus the rate times the time. So we know that our initial value was 3,400. The rate is 0.002 T. Now we're just getting this equation again in terms of T, so we're ready to plug it in for any value of T. And then we're going to distribute. Up with this times that is 6.8. And calculator. There you go. And now we're ready to solve for any value of T you would like to give me. And look, I even put it in proper function notation, A of T. But now we're actually evaluating it 3 times for 3 different years. They want to know what is A of 2, A of 5, A of 8. So basically, we're going to evaluate this equation 3 times. First, let's stick a 2 in here. 3,400 plus 6.8 times 2. It's going to do 3,400 plus 6.8 times 5. See, I'm removing the t, putting a set of parentheses, and plugging in my value. 3,400 plus 6.8. Move that t, plug it in 8. And now it's all about evaluating. So here we go. Right? 6.8 times 2 gives me a 13.6. When we add these together, we have 34, 13.6. And remember, this is money, so we need 2 decimal spots because it's cashola. Hundredths place. Okay, let's do the next one. 6.8 times 5 ends up with 34. There we go. 3,400 plus 34 is 34. 34. And again, it's cashola, so I want to put your answer in like that. Could be picky. Last one, we're going to do 6.8 times 8. That's going to give us what, 50, according to our calculator, 54.4. Oh, we're starting out with what, $3,400, $54.40. There you go. That's how much is going to be in that account. Simple interest is pretty simple as long as you know how to use your formula. And since they give it to us now in Algebra 1 on a formula sheet and it's titled Simple Interest, you should be able to identify it and use it. Next, as to these type of problems they can give us. Oh, look at this one, really is worded differently. Jackson opened a savings account with $5,000. The account earned 9.5% simple interest annually. After how many years will the balance of the account be $15,000? Round to the nearest, this is like the most important part, round to the nearest 10th. So yeah, we're going to have to round our answer, guys. So we need to make sure we listen to the directions, because if you round incorrectly, this is wrong. Now this is a little different here. They gave us different values. This time, we know what A is. A is 15,000. We know what P is, the money we're starting with, our principal. That's 5,000. And our rate is equal to 9.5%, which we need to turn that to a decimal. So we divide by 100. Moves the decimal spot 2 units to the left. 0.095. What we don't know is T. We're solving for T. So let's put this in and see what happens. All right, we're going to have our equation. So A is equal to 15,000. Our principal is 5,000. 1 plus R was 0.095. T. Notice see I give T a little tail so it doesn't quite look like a plus sign. It's a good idea to do when you start doing algebra and we have these variables that we plug in that sometimes, could look like the symbols in math. Be careful. All right, so we're solving for T this time. Look, there's only one variable in the entire equation, T. Order of operations says let's distribute first. And we're going to distribute here. So 5,000 times 0.00.095. And we end up with 475 T equals 15,000. And just like we did, guys, from our second unit of the year, we are now solving an equation. This is a two-step equation. Hey, it's also linear. Look, y equals mx. It's kind of t, but it's still slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. Your y-intercept is 1,000, your initial value. And every year it's changing by 475. Oh my gosh, this is like, imagine all this stuff in math coming together. We need to get t by itself, okay? So look, can't move this. This is what we're trying to solve for, is right here. I can move this, however, just like we did. How do I move a positive 5,000 from one side of an equal sign to the other? Well, the addition / subtraction property of equality. I can subtract 5,000. And if I do it to one side, I have to do it to the other side. All right, these cancel. I'm left with 475 T equals, well, 15,000 minus 5,000 is 10,000. Sure you're counting up and adding your zeros right. All right, to get my T by itself, these are being multiplied, so I can divide by 450, the division, property of equality. What we do to one side, we do to every term in the other side. And like that, when we put this in a calculator, we end up with 21.05. Stop that, and it keeps going. But remember, round to the nearest tenth. The tenth is right here. So you look over at the hundredths place, and the 5 says that we need to round that 0 up. So when you round, it's 21.1 equals T. Remember to round. So very, 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 very important. Right? This text box, man. It did not like that. Remember to round. If you get all this work done, guys, all this work, and you input this as your answer right here, it's wrong because the problem up above said round to the nearest tenth. You have to round. And you have to do it the way they tell you to. You can't pick your own place. You've got to round it to the position that they tell you to. All right, guys, that is it for today. I need you to get out there. The homework for this section will be in your McGraw-Hill today. So get out there, finish that homework. Have a great one.